Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of
I
mine.
have a friend in Jesus.
Do you want to die, Sydney? Your mother sure didn't.
Fuck you, you creep. Please don't.
Jesus wept.
Tell the sheriff I got him.
I got plans for you. I'm gonna slit your eyelids in half so you don't blink when I stab you in the face.
You don't know what death is.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Hey, you're listening to Blood, Guts, and B-Movie Trash Talk. My name is Trevor, and as always, I have my lovely co-host here, Mr. Steve Normand. How you doing, Steve?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's been a while, I feel.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a few weeks. I went on vacation and been doing a few things here and there, so...
Oh, good for you.
Successfully outlived Jim Morrison.
I did. Yeah, I have some mixed feelings about that. I was like, I'm going to live to see another day, but then again, I was like, how badass would it be if I just croaked on my a day before my birthday?
Everyone is like, who?
Yeah, who's that? And we're going to change things up a bit. We're going to do a little spoiler-free review, as well as a in-depth, meaty spoiler review, because Steve and I have kind of come to the conclusion that there's probably some people here that may want to watch these shitty movies we're going to review, right, Steve?
Right, and so the idea is kind of we're taking at least as long to review the movie as the movie takes. Now, you see, the thing about that is it's not necessarily a bad thing, I guess, because you could drive or be at work, I guess, if you're listening to this. However, for those that want a little bit tighter of a program and also maybe want to have more of a discussion where we talk about the spoilers, we're going to try doing something where we kind of summarize everything without giving away spoilers, decide if we recommend it, and then after that we're going to jump into the discussion with spoilers and everything else so we can have more of a talk.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. And we kind of felt that why should our reviews be almost twice as long as the movies we're watching? So,
I'll show you.
Yeah, but no, good things, and I think this will be great and give people the opportunity to go out and watch the shitty movie. But hopefully you had the opportunity to listen to the last review. It was a very fun movie to watch and review, and our guest was quite classy. I'd love to have him on the show once again.
Oh, yeah.
What are we reviewing today, Steve?
Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers from 1988.
That looks like a Grindhouse special. I guess
right, because some scenes apparently weren't stored correctly is what I got from looking at it, because I don't think they were going for super, deteriorated film, because it wasn't always like that. But did you get the budget?
The budget was, from what I found, $23,000. So this is probably one of the cheapest films we've watched so far. And
it looks like it was written by T.L. Langford and Dr. S. Carver, and then dramatically made more awesome, apparently, by Fred Olen Ray, who's also the director.
Yes.
I think it's Olen.
Yeah. Fred is a very interesting fellow. I actually have this movie on DVD, and it has some cool special features, and it goes into a bit about Fred and just his career and what he was doing. I don't know if the listeners or you, Steve, recall midnight movie showings on television where they had a kooky co-host or kooky host, and they would kind of have this little eerie feel, and he would present movies and play them at night.
Kind of like Tales from the Crypt-ish, or like Fright Night, how that guy is introducing the movies.
Yeah, exactly like Fright Night, and Elvira is a great example. That's kind of what this guy did, but it was more of a modern day thing, and unfortunately he jumped into it when that kind of stuff was dying out. So what had happened is he had directed a handful of B movies, and he was doing that type of show, and he was releasing these, and once he shit the bed and it stopped doing well, he just started producing and directing softcore porn on Cinemax.
Yep, movies that And this movie, for example, when I say that it was made more awesome, that's what he said. I didn't say that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But
Yeah.
it's not me saying it more awesome.
It's not.
He
Yeah.
pointed it out.
You're taking. That's a quote from him.
From the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm. But
Well, why don't you try and sum this up the best you can based on the back of any sort of box you may or may not own.
Well, on the box I do see here, it's the fourth greatest B movie of all time, Maxim Magazine states. But
Number 4.
yeah. But to give you a little idea, very few films have achieved the cult status of Fred Olen Ray's Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. It played in festivals around the world, it inspired numerous imitators, and it made a bona fide B-movie megastar of actress Michelle Bauer. Now, 20 years later, Retro Media presents a special anniversary edition in celebration of the continuing mystique that is Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. Join Detective Jack Chandler as he tracks the runaway teen, played by horror queen Linnea Quigley, in the dark recesses of the Los Angeles' most stringent religious cult. Beware the chainsaw-worshipping madman played by Texas Chainsaw Massacre's original Leatherface Gunnar Hansen. And above all else, watch out for the saw-wielding vixen performing the virgin dance of the double chainsaws.
Cool story, bro.
Not.
Oh yeah, that chainsaw dance is sort of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre's 2, but way less cool.
Oh yeah, it wasn't practiced,
and it looked like they were just touching chainsaws instead of like whacking them.
Yeah, I know. It was when I heard that, I was like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. And I was stoked when I first bought this to see that Gunnar Hansen was in it. He either needed some money to pay his rent, so he played in this, or it was going to be great. So wasn't quite sure, but I thought I'd buy it and we'd check it out.
So, is there anything you want to add to that behind box summary to kind of give people an idea of if they may or may not want to watch this before we suggest if they should watch it or not?
Sure. So we can kind of go into a spoiler-free.
Yeah, let's give a little rundown here about.
All right.
What kind of film it is?
Yeah. So it's a non-linear Dashiell Hammett overthrow. It's like this detective, or not detective, but PI. Telling a story afterwards, and he's describing this case that he had followed about this missing teen. In attempting to find the missing teen, it's brought him into a whole bigger case here that's kind of out of his league. He's been kind of thrown into this chainsaw massacre cult ran by hookers, essentially.
And meeting a lot of shifty go-betweens in between.
Indeed, and he is kind of that typical cliche PI. This is like an old, it's like an old Dashiell Hammett novel meets ridiculous B-movie garbage.
Which I think is the highlight of the movie by far.
Indeed. The actor, he looks like an actor I've seen before. The guy that plays the detective, but I
couldn't place him though.
Yeah, did he look familiar to you?
I thought I seen him somewhere.
Yeah. The one movie that did come to mind is, have you ever seen Half Baked with Dave Chappelle?
Oh yeah.
You know one of the police officers that's in that, he's like a detective that's trying to get Dave Chappelle to bust that big drug lord or whatever, and they end up smoking in the van.
You want some candy?
Yeah, it looks like one of those guys, one of the cops. But it's not. You know what I'm talking about?
Like the actual guy, but
you Google it, you'll know.
I can see it.
Yeah, you'll know who I'm talking about. But anyways, it kind of looked like him. But the nice thing is, I was just gonna say this very interesting movie, and it's nice to see Gunnar Hansen in a role where he doesn't have a mask on and just plays a giant child,
handsome face.
Yeah, giant man-child retard wielding a chainsaw. Mm-hmm.
So, based on that, without getting into dumpster ratings or anything, would you recommend people see this?
Oh, that is just a great question, Steve. It's interesting. Now, if you're a gore-obsessed movie-watching individual, I would say you may be a bit disappointed However, it's not totally that bad. There are a lot of tits in this. It does live up to its title as far as nudity is concerned.
That's true.
Yes, and even if you like seeing the bush, you may be surprised to see one or two of those. So I would say if you are, really into these super micro-budgeted films and like Gunnar Hansen, it's something to watch. Typical viewer, I would say skip out on this one. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I think if it wasn't for the detective, I would say no. So I guess just watch it for the detective because he's got some classy lines. So yeah, I would say just barely watch if you're interested in amusing parody detectives.
Yeah.
And I guess no if you're looking for any sort of horror or even slashery movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of missing that stuff.
Yeah.
To me, this is a movie that wasn't good enough to have Bruce Campbell in it. It wasn't slapsticky enough, and that's kind of what I thought the whole time.
Yeah. But
so anyway, yeah. Anything else you want to add on that? Maybe you want to save it till the very end.
Yeah, let's save it till the very end here once we go through everything.
If you want to watch it, this is the time to pause and watch it.
And then you can come back and listen to the in-depth review.
Are you hungry? Hungry as a gremlin? Here's gremlin cereal.
Gremlins, bite after bite. What a tasty way to satisfy a gremlin appetite.
Gremlins is a deliciously sweet, crunchy cereal that satisfies the hungry little gremlin that's in all of us.
Gremlins, bite after bite. What a tasty way to satisfy a gremlin appetite.
Gremlin cereal is part of this complete breakfast.
Gremlin, yum yum.
We're back, and we're going to jump into the spoiler meaty review that we typically do. Now, Steve, what I found here once I started watching this was the warning at the beginning of the film telling you what you're in for. Yeah. I thought that was quite classy. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was pretty amusing.
It was pretty funny. It just
overexerting yourself with a chainsaw or something like that.
Yeah, it basically says that these chainsaws in this film are real chainsaws and they are handled by professionals. And kids do not try this at home. And then I think talks about hookers or something. I'm not quite sure.
Something along those lines.
Yes. But yeah, this movie, like we had mentioned a little bit earlier in the episode, non-linear story. It's narrated by Jack Chandler, the private investigator.
Yeah, and the movie opens with a hooker being interviewed by police. She looks sort of like, I guess if Betty Boop and Marilyn Monroe had a baby.
Yeah, she did look quite Marilyn Monroe to me.
She mentions that her and this guy get down once, maybe twice, but he doesn't have money and asks for a break. Then she gets out her sexually enhancing device from the closet. And it's chainsaw time, baby.
And she tears him up. And from what we find, she's in the movie just once, but she's one of those prostitutes that got caught murdering, correct?
Yeah, it's not like somebody that you would think is like a main character and then explaining how she got caught. It's not like that.
Yeah, so she does a bit of talking. But then we jump to the credits. Nothing special there, just your typical beginning credits. But then we jump into a bar scene here that kind of sets the tone for, I would say, the main hooker minion of the movie.
Yeah.
Now,
Mercedes.
Yes. Now the bartender at the beginning, to me, looks like a real life version of Moe from The Simpsons. Did you catch that?
Yeah, Moe Sizlak. Yeah, he's kind of sweaty, kind of like shifty, and doesn't laugh at things he should.
Yeah. The only thing he was lacking was the voice there, but very interesting.
And finally, Kid Moe.
Kid Moe?
Yeah.
So
Kid Gorgeous, then Kid Presentable, and then finally just Kid Moe.
Ah, okay. Now, what was that, Steve? Sorry?
I was just going to say, yeah, the bar scene, we got Bo Hansen, and he gets picked up on by Mercedes. He says she probably costs as much as a Mercedes.
Probably.
And then she's able to convince him to go back to her place for some drinks because they'll be cheaper.
Indeed. And it seems to me that the hookers choose their prey. They don't feed off of these men finding them for cheap sex. They kind of pick and choose, from what I gathered.
That's right.
Now in the bar, Gunnar Hansen is creeping.
He creeps the whole time.
He does.
And you're always like, who is that guy? Like, just watching. And then come to find out, since we're going to spoil this through the review, he is the leader of this cult of Egyptian Horus-loving, chainsaw-wielding people.
Yeah. Yeah, he is kind of a creep, but we see that this is the first scene he pops up in, which is the beginning of the movie, and he's just like looking from the dark in this bar, staring, kind of watching, as this prostitute's telling Mr. Bobo that he's going to get his brains fucked out. So
yeah, and then she takes Bo back to her place and
supplies. I was going to say that she supplies the tender fucking care, the TFC.
Yep, that's what she says. And she gives him his drink and puts on what's supposed to be Elvis and covers up her photo of Elvis with some sort of clear wrap, which makes you, wonder what the hell is going to happen here. And if you didn't know the title of the movie, like the guy doesn't. Yeah,
he should definitely be concerned because
right.
at any point in time when you go to a one-night stand and you
People
see
covering anything in plastic.
Yeah, and you see him pull out a plastic tarp. That should be your key to get the fuck out of there.
Right.
But yeah, she hangs the plastic over the king, but not the carpet.
Nope.
Yeah,
that can be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And then she doesn't even sort of mess around. She just basically gets right down to chainsawing this guy.
Yeah, she doesn't even give him a hand job. She didn't even give him a finger in the butt. She just immediately goes to the chainsaw.
Doesn't even position him in a way where he wouldn't look right away. She's just like, close your eyes, gets a chainsaw, and fucking kills him to their best impression of Elvis, which wasn't bad.
Yeah, and do you notice when, in all the kill scenes here, that it's just kind of the same camera angles, due to the budget probably, but it'll show like shoulders up of the face and blood splattering on the victim. And
right,
then,
so it doesn't show the guy getting killed?
Yeah, it doesn't show the actual chainsaw being bludgeoned through the body, but then it will jump back to, a shot of the naked hooker and blood and body parts spraying all over.
Thrown at him ridiculously from the same angle.
Yeah, like if you filled like a drinking cup with water and then just threw it on a person, like it's not splattering.
A drinking cup full of cranberry juice and dumped it at somebody.
Yeah, but I thought it was pretty funny when she was killing Mr. Bo Gunnar Hansen, and he reaches up and grabs her tit, and then she grabs it, and it's a chopped off hand, and she just throws it.
Like a glove, a wax glove.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. But for all you likers of the bush, this will be the first bush shown, and it's shown with no hesitation. I think this is the only bush shot. I could be wrong. I don't know if you recall.
Well, after that, though, you forget that we quickly get shown back to our hero, Detective Jack.
Yes.
And he's searching for a runaway beauty queen that started hooking. He checks the jail for her. She isn't there, but the girl from the opening scene that was talking about chainsawing that guy that had killed the cops with the chainsaw, they bring her in to kind of talk about what's going on. She's batshit crazy.
Indeed. She is, and this is the girl that you see at the beginning of the film that's Marilyn Monroe-like. She definitely wants to jump. I think she's trying to escape out of the massive amount of chains wrapped around her because she's crazy, but she's trying to get loose, so offering sex to the two the detective and the PI.
The detective and the head of the prison.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Yeah, whatever, yeah. Pretty funny.
People that have probably heard it all from, like, convict women,
Yeah. Now, like we mentioned earlier, Chandler is like the typical PI. He's like that depressed, drunken badass born to take down the bad guy.
Yeah.
Regardless of any obstacle. And he pulls out a flask and, is wearing the dirty suit with the 5 o'clock shadow, just kind of a piece of shit.
And it seemed to me like, it felt to me like this guy's character would have been a parody of Bruce Willis's off of Sin City, except for this movie came out way before Sin City. I know Sin City was a graphic novel, but it can't be from '88 to my knowledge.
Yeah.
So like to me, that's what I kept getting reminded of. You know how he's like talks to himself nonstop and narrates what he's doing and like says weird one-liners, and like it was a shitty day, so I started shitting and drinking. Like he doesn't say that, but like that's the type of thing that goes on.
Yeah, and it's what I liked about it too is it is narrated, and he tells the story how he wants it to be heard, but the film that you're watching shows different things, which is pretty funny. For example, when he's like laying in bed with his wife or his girlfriend, he's like, "Yeah, I had to get up and leave. I had to take care of some business.
She begged me to stay.
She begged me to stay and blew me a kiss." And she's like flipping him off.
Get the fuck out of here! Yelling at him.
Yeah, flipping him off and like trying to boot his ass out. So I thought that was pretty cool, and it was kind of like his drunken like ego talking, but then showing you the truth, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, that's great. He's definitely the best part of this movie.
Yeah, he is. Now,
that's actually the next scene.
Yeah.
You mentioned. So yeah, Detective Jack goes to his quote unquote girl's place, which he says she's my girl, sort of.
But but before that, remember when he's down talking to the head honcho of the prison? I think he's more of like a lieutenant or bigwig of the police, but anyways, he steals a matchbook.
Chief of police.
Chief of police. Now he steals a matchbook from their evidence,
right?
And Jack feels that there's some sort of relation between the crazy Marilyn Monroe chainsaw hugger and the missing girl, and so he takes that because there's a phone number inside there, and we find out it's Mercedes' phone number.
Yeah, right. So jumping back, good point, because that definitely explains where he gets it. Jumping back, Detective Jack. To what I was saying, but it takes place after. Mm-hmm. Detective Jack goes to his girl's place and finds that the name Mercedes is written inside the matches that he pinched, and he goes back on the trail. He only found this out, I think, because his lighter wouldn't work, so he had to light his chain smoking ways somehow, so he just used the evidence. And that's when they get in that hilarious argument where he's telling it one way and she's wanting him to leave and yelling at him.
Yeah, and that vaguely happens throughout the movie, so it's pretty interesting. That's a plus.
Yeah, it's amusing. It's he's anything that happens with him is the best part.
Yeah. Now we run into the introduction and meeting of the second hooker minion, Lisa. Now I guess she's out on a date with kind of a creepy looking Lucia Fulci character.
And his name's Hermes. She looks like a dude from New Jersey, and the guy's name is Hermes.
Yeah. And this dude, you kind of get the idea he's going to be a giant creep. However, he's just a photographer.
Oh, he's a creep.
He's a creep, but not the like sodomizing creep that you think he is when he pulls out the baseball bat.
But, my bad. His name's Hermes. But yeah, basically, it looks like he wants to get up to some real sick shit. But instead, Trevor, what is he up to?
He's actually a photographer, and he's trying to market his product, which is baseball bats. Now, the way he's going to market these to the children and people of the church is taking photos of this naked or partially naked prostitute flaunting
not in front of a backdrop.
No.
Just in his front room.
Yeah. She's flaunting and marketing his baseball bats in the half nude in front of this decrepit kind of run down apartment.
Yeah.
But as
he's
yeah, he's kind of getting his jollies. That's his way of getting off, I guess, is taking the photographs. And as he's taking these photographs, she walks closer and closer with the intention of busting his brains out with this baseball bat, and she does so.
Yep.
Throws him in the bathtub and cuts the shit out of him with the chainsaw.
Dices him real nice.
Yeah, cleans him up.
From there, we're back with Detective Jack, right?
Yes, but before that, let's make this clear that we have two murders now, right?
Right.
Okay. Both of these murders...
Not counting the cops that they stupidly handed the chainsaw to in the jail to the woman at the beginning. Looks like Betty Boop, Marilyn Monroe. She diced him up with that.
Yeah. But keep in mind, within these two murders, Gunnar Hansen's character is kind of hiding in the shadows. He's like watching all these murders, so you're kind of like, who the hell is this dude? Why is he watching?
Right, and you think he's like, getting some sort of satisfaction off of this, and he probably is, but he also has a bigger purpose, which is he's the cult leader.
Yeah, so he's making sure that these murders go down smoothly, I guess, kind of monitoring the work. But yeah, now we jump to the next scene where P.I. Chandler goes to the bar to meet up with the person that he called on from the matches, which is Mercedes.
Right.
Now, the classy individual orders a bourbon with a bourbon chaser.
Yeah, and there's also a child with a martini sitting at the bar, and everybody gives him a terrible look.
Yeah, they give him the look of, hey, you're not a regular here, what the fuck you doing? Then they go back to their conversation.
Nobody likes Jack. It's almost like a record could be like, "Roop," and then everybody looks at him. And then he orders that bourbon with bourbon, and then it kind of goes back.
He meets up with Mercedes, starts chit-chatting. She immediately is all over him telling him that she wants to fuck his brains out.
Which means she wants to chainsaw him, because we know.
She doesn't, give a finger in the butt. She doesn't do anything. She jumps immediately to the chainsaw work.
Right. I doubt she's even, had to earn any of the money that she may or may not have stolen from them after.
Yeah, I don't think she's taken a shot in the mouth in this occupation as of yet. They're both drinking. She's drinking some sort of drink called like the Amazing Orgasm or something like that.
Right, and she recognizes Mo Sizlak, the bartender, and is like, "Oh yeah, I want to go say hi to him because he'll get upset if I don't go say hi."
Mm-hmm. And what is she doing in that? Really, in that scenario?
She's doing something, slipping him a Mickey, I would say, is what the kids these days would call it. Meanwhile, he is calling the police, and he gets a hilarious homicides phone message. I have written down some of it if you want to hear.
Yes.
So he calls the police, and it's the homicide line, and they're busy. And so they get a message, and it's like, "If you've committed a recent homicide, please stay on the line. We want very much to hear from you. If you are currently in fear of becoming a homicide in the next few minutes, you may want to hang up and dial 911 for more immediate service." Classy.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think we've watched a movie yet that does not completely poke fun at police. Quite classy little voicemail. Makes me want to update mine.
To that.
All right. Well, he takes a sip of this drink that the Vixen Mercedes.
Yes. 1 second.
Sure.
He was calling the police because he's afraid something's going to go down. He doesn't trust Mercedes and everybody else. Also, because he has spotted the girl he's looking for, and she's dancing.
Yes. He's found the missing girl. And when he goes out to leave the message to the police, he comes back and notices that she's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, the drink that was given to him was poisoned.
Right.
With a roofie of some sort, and he drinks it, passes out, and finds himself tied to a bed in the hooker den.
Yeah.
And now this is where we find out Gunnar Hansen has a part in this chainsaw play.
This is where it gets a little weird.
Yes.
For our detective.
Yeah.
Because the man shows up while people were crowding him.
Yeah.
We'll say.
Yeah, we had 3 or 4 hookers that just wanted to gangbang him. And this is where, not only is P.I. Chandler a great private investigator, but he's quite loyal to his fine lady there.
That isn't even really his girlfriend.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, she's probably just a hit and quit. I don't know. But he's telling these hookers to get off him. He has a lady at home, doesn't want to be banged, whatever. Now, the ladies step back and say, let's get to business, pull up the chainsaw. Mercedes does. And right before he starts to be chainsawed, good old Gunnar Hansen walks in. And he looks like a Marlon Brando /
Marlon Brando mixed with Silent Bob.
Yes. Definitely not in his prime, Hansen here.
No.
But anyways, Hansen comes out of the dark and he explains himself. Gunnar Hansen states that he's the leader of this Egyptian chainsaw-wielding prostitute cult. And they kill with a chainsaw to appease the Egyptian hooker god. I guess the chainsaw is God. So it's very fucking weird. This was from left field. I didn't see this coming whatsoever.
That's right. Spoiler alarm, baby.
Very odd.
So the girls decide to dice this guy up.
Yeah.
While they're flaunting this chainsaw around, it runs out of gas, so they go down to Texaco, nice name drop, to get some more gas.
And they leave behind the missing girl, Samantha, to watch over him. while they go get the gas.
Yeah, unbeknownst to them
Mm-hmm.
and the audience, Samantha is not seem very trustworthy to either side at this point, but basically she's trying to bring this cult down because they've killed one of her friends.
Yes.
So you don't find this out until much later, but she decides to cut old Jack free. And
well, this is where you actually find it out, because she tells him the story. And she says, I didn't run away from home because I was having troubles at home. I ran away because they killed my friend, and I wanted to join the group to infiltrate the cult and get revenge on him.
Right.
So then she helps Chandler escape by untying him, and then they hit the road.
She doesn't want to go, so he just decides to classily headbutt her and knock her out.
Yes, so...
And then,
yes.
Kidnaps her.
Yeah, so hitting women is key in the private investigating game.
Hey, you can't pull any punches, and you don't use your fist. You just clock them with your head.
Just fucking headbang them, man. All right, so Chandler and the missing kid Samantha head to the Chainsaw Temple to spoil the sacrifice ceremony.
After they enjoy each other's company, they head there.
This is where Chandler's fling or girlfriend comes in and witnesses it, and he doesn't give a shit.
Right, and for a movie with this title, this was actually done pretty tastefully. It just shows that, sort of implies what they're doing, and then it cuts to the next scene.
Fuck her right in the pussy.
So,
That's right.
yeah, that's what happens. It's for all you people out there that wanted to see some TNA or some softcore, you don't see it. So, I wouldn't be too excited.
Suck on that.
You do see tits, though. And I add that all the tits in this movie are definitely taken care of in a surgical matter, meaning nearly almost every woman has breast implants.
I'm 12 and I don't know what this means. So they decided to kick this to the temple.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
As soon as they get there, they make a loud fucking ruckus. Some other weird fat guy shows up that hears them. They apprehend them, and then they inject the lead girl here, the good girl, with some
Samantha.
sort of blood juice, blood of the ancient juice.
Yes, blood of the ancestors, we call it.
Yeah, ancestors.
So the serum turns Samantha retarded, and she goes into this kind of stupor. But they do find this temple without any problem. I guess there's signs.
Like, it's everybody knows the address.
Yeah, it says signs there's like signs pointing to the temple saying temple is here.
That's true, and it's not even a temple. It's more of like it's not. I would feel bad calling it even a warehouse, because that gives warehouse a bad name.
It's like a second-rate antique shop ran by like an 80-year-old woman.
Right.
It's just like a back alley store with like weird furniture and antiques and things. But anyways, they go inside. That happens. They're going to put both of these individuals up for sacrifice. And this is where the cult leader comes out, Gunnar Hansen. And he says that we're going to perform this ceremony and we will taste the blood of Anubis.
Yeah.
Yep. Blood of Anubis. I don't know what that freak cult minion was pouring into that big bowl. It looked like cans of oil. Did you have, or maybe like cans of pears, and they were drinking the sugary pear juice? Do you have any idea?
That's what mummified god blood looks like.
Ah.
Another amusing thing is he wasn't able to quite get it going. By which I mean the chainsaw.
Yes, he struggled.
He tries to get that chainsaw. He looks like a fucking idiot. And finally he gets that baby going, right?
He does. Now, I do want to mention, right before this, they're doing rituals like candle and fire dancing, stuff like that. There are only about 10 to 12 people present in this room. However, that doesn't stop the person who edited this film adding arena crowd cheering sound effects, which I thought was fucking hilarious. It was pretty funny.
It's like a WWF pay-per-view.
Yeah. But the virgin dance of the double chainsaws comes into play once Mr. Hansen gets that chainsaw started.
Yeah.
And it's performed by the one and only drugged Samantha. Samantha here with the chainsaws does her second-rate dance that you had stated was kind of ripped off by Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And she's duped the cult by pretending that she's drugged and she's going to chop Mr. Chandler in half. But instead, turns and just completely cuts Gunnar Hansen in half.
That's right. And he's got a lot of stomach, baby.
He does, so it takes her some time. Now, she then turns over to the number one cult minion, Mercedes, and they've decided that it is time for that chainsaw hooker chainsaw off. I don't know what you want to call it.
I would call it
their
the
duel.
chainsaw hooker safety dance, because they're really trying to not even ruin those chainsaws. They're fighting them like when you get something new, like new shoes, you walk a little different, try not to ruin them the first couple of days. They're doing that like they got 2 new chainsaws. Like,
Yeah, they it was pretty ridiculous. I found that pretty funny. But we find that Samantha doesn't hold back, and she finds her inner clutch Paul Pierce-ness, defeating the main prostitute minion, and
she'll bank it.
and cutting her in half.
Then the fuzz show up because old Detective Jack has tipped him off to the whereabouts of this place.
He did, and
it's that easy to find, so they just show up.
Yeah, and as always, they're always a couple steps behind.
Mm-hmm.
And as they walk in, the cop apologizes, stating that Letterman was on and that they couldn't miss that. Apparently, Letterman was just huge in the 80s.
Because they mentioned it a couple times in this movie.
Yeah, it was like one of those jokes that happened multiple times. Now, the rest of the chainsaw-wielding prostitutes just evaporate / melt and disappear, escaping by the skin in their teeth. And I believe they do so. That way they can get their revenge in student chainsaw nurses bad to the bone.
Oh, my.
So, yeah, they introduce a sequel in the ending credits here. And that's it, Steve. I think we've covered this bad boy.
Picture, baby.
Now,
so, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, now, Steve, there's typically an instance where we go over something.
I like to give the people what the people may or may not like. So I think you're going to like this movie if you like old-timey, attitude-y detectives praying to Black & Decker, dark, quiet, sleazy things, buckets of blood being thrown at people during kill scenes,
cups of
toys.
Cups.
Yeah, cups of blood and cranberry juice, maybe. More accurate. Toys for big boys. Barkeeps that can stay straight-faced through Shadow Bunny tutorials by our detective. And finally, if you think being a dick is a 24-hour-a-day job.
It is.
That's Jack's motto. The night was early, and I decided to get back out there, because being a dick's a 24-hour-a-day job. So Trevor, what do you think about the movie / the score and the villain or villains, whichever you want to talk about?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, first, I'm going to jump into the villains. Villains were very interesting. I was stoked to see that Gunnar Hansen was in this. He at first turned out to be kind of a creep, didn't know what he was going to do, but finding out that the plot twist here was that it was a chainsaw-worshipping cult, and he was the leader of it, was quite interesting. The kills, there were just a few in this film. Very disappointed in that. But the other bad guys, the hookers, Mercedes is kind of weird. The other one just kind of looked like a homely Brooklyn / Staten Island lady.
Boy.
Boy, whatever you want to call it. Just kind of, not a good looker. But the villains were pretty boring. It's disappointing. Gunnar Hansen, I think it was just kind of a name to add to this movie to get people to watch it. So that's the villains there. He did dress up quite interesting, but still kind of boring. The score was really just kind of funny. You could tell they didn't have money to write a score or to pay people to use the tunes, so it sounds to me they used just a bunch of royalty crap they could use for free.
Right,
so
and the thought probably went into the Elvis, fake Elvis songs.
Yeah, which they definitely did, because they don't. Yeah, that their whole budget probably would have went to that.
Paying the king.
Yeah, but anyways, score was pretty subpar. Now, movie overall, it was. I mean, when I saw this, I was like, dude, this is going to be fucking cool. It had Gunnar Hansen in it. The cover itself just looks awesome. It has a bunch of DVD features and things like that. But other than the detective, and the plot twist, this movie was kind of a snoozer to me, Steve.
Right.
Should we jump in the rating?
Oh, why don't you let me throw my hat into the ring?
Well, I was just going to say my personal rating. Yeah, we'll do.
Let me do mine, and then we'll together hand out our dumpster.
I like it.
How about that?
I like the way you move, Steve.
I like your style. So I think that I don't really remember the score. I loved the fact that there was like a shitty Elvis like impersonation thing. That was a high point of the movie. I loved that. For whatever reason, unexplained, this one person loves the king enough to cover his poster and everything, the painting.
Mm-hmm.
The villains were fucking lame. That creeper guy was he was definitely the coolest villain, and he wasn't cool at all.
Yeah.
The other girls, they didn't have like a good gimmick. They didn't really do any like badass tricks or mind game these people at all. So my thoughts on the movie is, if it wasn't for this detective, I would definitely say, it's got nothing going for it at all.
Yeah.
Except for in a provocative movie title. So yeah.
Yeah, and the name, the Gunnar Hansen, I think.
I didn't even know who that was. I didn't even know that was the guy until just the start of this episode.
Oh yeah, Leatherface, from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay, I probably would have liked him, been watching him a little more, maybe.
That's why I was stoked on this. As you know, that's like probably my favorite horror movie, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But yeah,
that I do.
But I was stoked on that, and he was a giant fucking flop in this.
He just like showed up and phoned it in to get his paycheck.
Yeah, he definitely needs to stick.
He didn't really have much to work with, though, either, I guess.
Yeah, what's funny, and I want to add, Steve, is that I actually have like a book that he wrote just about his career. Or not his career, but more about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and his experience. But he talks a bit about his career. I'm not quite done with the book. I'm going to finish reading it, but I'm going to see if he mentions anything about this movie. I highly doubt he does, because he probably didn't want to be credited in it. But we'll see.
Just give me the $6,000 and I'll be on my way.
Yeah. But I agree with you there. It was, definitely a letdown. The detective slapstick humor and narration throughout the movie really helped out, and I think the plot twist helped get through the rest of it. Now, the nice thing is the movie was only an hour and 15 minutes, so
right.
But kind of dragged a bit in that small amount of time. Yeah.
Well, in that case, why don't you go ahead and hand out your dumpster rating now? For the theoretical folks at home, the way that this works is one dumpster is the best it could possibly be, because you need at least one dumpster, and five dumpsters is an all-out dumpster fire. So that's the word. With that,
yeah,
that's right. With that in mind, Trevor, why don't you go ahead and explain your rating and a little briefly why?
All right. So I'm going to give this a 4.
Okay.
So, the reason I give this a 4 and not a 5 is because the detective, his slapstick humor, and the plot twist that I had mentioned about the ridiculous Egyptian chainsaw worshipping cult.
Does that make sense?
That obviously chainsaw not existing or even being thought of.
They even call that out as like, I feel like it's sort of put in there as like a kind of joke, like they didn't have chainsaws. I don't remember
I don't remember their rebuttal, but
touche, sir. We're going with it anyway.
But I think those two things there saved the movie and helped me get through it. But it's just, this movie could have been it could have been maybe a 2 or even a 1.5 if they had the budget. I think the budget just completely screwed them. They didn't have the ability to get better actors, to add more gore, more kills, more prostitutes. The only thing they had going for them was A, the nudity, B, all right, let me rearrange that. The detective.
Uh-huh.
And
then a very distant. Now go ahead.
Yes. His nonlinear narration, the Gunnar Hansen acting, and I would say 3, the nudity, are the top three things in here, but it's a 4 in my book, Steve.
Yeah, I would give it a 4 as well, just because the detective, he is worth, like, okay, it's not possible to rate a movie worse than 5, and there probably isn't a movie that I'm going to watch for this podcast that I hate more than Night of the Demons, but I would say that somehow, like, Night of the Demons, in all honesty, should be about a 7, but we don't have 7.
Yeah.
This movie should probably be about a 6, but since they got the detective, it'd be a 4. And I mean, without him, it'd be awful. Like,
it'd be a 5.
Yeah. In fact, if this was just a movie where we follow this detective around and listen to what he says for a whole day, it would be a fucking like 1.5 maybe, because like the detective is great.
He is.
So that's the only redeeming thing I would say. Just watch for. Have it on in the background. Just pay attention anytime the detective opens his mouth because he's amusing.
Yeah, and if it's funny because you get the idea that they're going to make a sequel to this, which obviously they're not because they're just not. But take a page out of Frankenhooker's book. Heenan Lauder did it right with hookers.
Yeah, you got to make it ridiculous for starters.
Yeah, you got to have the crack
because they don't act ridiculous in this movie. It's just another knock against them. They're kind of like dead serious about what they're doing.
Yeah, and they were attractive. The ones in Frankenhooker were just dog-faced. They were just hideous. They had tons of crack. And there were just
muscly beefcake that wanted to issue the crack.
Yes, the muscly beefcake that sold drugs and pimped out these women. I mean, he did it right. This movie, they did it wrong.
Yeah, you gotta have some more humor than just your one detective. I know it makes like an amusing contrast, the detective and I guess the police line, but still, it's not enough.
Yeah, I agree. Well, hell, yeah, that's Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. I would definitely only recommend it to people who are just huge fans of Gunnar Hansen because it's obviously going to be something in the collection. But you're going to be disappointed. If you're that typical casual viewer that likes horror movies from time to time, don't
then
pick
you're
this.
Probably not even listening to us.
Yeah, that. And, I would say don't even waste your time on this. The cover is going to kind of throw you off. Just not, it's not up to standard.
Something was not up to snuff.
Yeah, but yeah, that's the review. I don't have anything else to say, Steve. How about you?
Nope.
Well, maybe. As far as this movie's concerned,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
but
This sucks big floppy donkey dick.
Oh, but Jesus, Hansen, yeah, rest in peace. This kind of hopefully didn't ruin your career, but other than that, that's it. That's the review. You're always more than welcome to shout out requests on Twitter. You can get us at B-Movie Trash Talk or at Trevor Turpin or at Steve Norman. We also have a Facebook page. Just search B-Movie Trash Talk. Also created an Instagram. At B-Movie Trash Talk as well. I'm going to start throwing up some funny photos, probably some sessions of Steve and I recording, and maybe some harassing photos of our guests as well. But other than that, stay tuned. We'll have some more reviews for you. And as always, it's a pleasure.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, you have a good night, Steve. Take care.
You too. Bye, audience at home.
See you later.